joining us and joining the CEO Forum for our annual professor panel discussing opportunities for Rutgers MBA students to launch the entrepreneur in you. I would like to start off with a few introductions. So Professor Mukesh Patel is a serial entrepreneur and executive board advisor with experience in private equity, venture capital, innovation, and technology. He is a recipient of the Presidential Award for Excellence in Innovation in Teaching and Service. He designs and teaches interdisciplinary and experiential courses at Rutgers Business School, Law School, and School of Engineering. He is a 3-time TEDx speaker and has presented keynotes and has been featured at prestigious conferences. Professor Gary Minkoff serves as a full-time assistant professor of professional practice at Rutgers Business School, where he teaches various courses in entrepreneurship. His teaching is informed by his extensive professional and practical experience in 4 key economic sectors: private, not-for-profit, education, and public. Gary is a co-founder and chief operating officer of Pre-D Partners, a startup dietary supplement company. Additionally, he is a principal and co-founder of BioDev, a life sciences technology strategy, licensing, and development company. And finally, we have Professor Doug Brownstone, assistant professor of professional practice and director for the MBA Business Plan Case Competition. He is a corporate consultant with expertise in business strategy and innovation at multinational companies, and he leverages his corporate experiences from Procter & Gamble, Johnson & Johnson, Novartis, and several other leading organizations. As our moderator, we have Maria Henkel, who is our founder and president of the CEO Forum, a graduate from the RU MBA program, and is a talented marketing expert in multiple industries. And with that, I'd like to hand it over to Maria.
Thank you, Ryan. Again, I'd like to welcome everybody to our professor panel today. And we're going to begin, I believe, with Professor Brownstone to kind of kick things off and talk about what he is involved with and the different programs. He has a lot of different areas that he works within the entrepreneurship at Rutgers, especially the case competition, which I'm sure current students are very interested in. So let's kick it off with you.
Okay, good. Thank you. I'm going to share my screen here. Okay, so I'll ask the age-old question. Can you see my screen? Yes?
Yes, we can.
Okay,
yeah.
great. Okay, so yeah, thanks everyone for joining. I just want to show you a few things that you can get involved with here at Rutgers. And I'm going to switch to the next slide here. Let's see if I can get this big again. Yeah, for some reason it's not turning. Let me just try one more thing. Okay, looks like it's not turning, so I'm just going to have to play it a little smaller version. So let me try that here. Okay, is that big enough to see?
Yes, it is.
Okay, as big as I can. Okay, hopefully this will turn here. Okay, so just to start off with a little bit of a sizzle here. So one of the things I run is the annual business plan competition at RBS. So anybody that is a student at RBS, as well as RBS alumni, can join in. We give away $50,000 every year. We just did it a couple of months ago. What you do is send in a business plan. If you're starting up a business, if you have a business plan, you send them in. And then we have kind of a Shark Tank playoff in April, and we give out the money. Here's one example. This is a fellow MBA student for a fellow colleague of you guys here, Juan Salinas. You may know him. In 2019, he won the RBS business plan competition. That particular year, he won $20,000. He has a business he's starting up called Peanuff. It's a healthy snack for kids to help fight child obesity. And that's the product he was trying to get a factory built up and up and running. And the $20,000 he won helped him get that up and running. Then he went on to the real Shark Tank. And you can look it up, October of 2020. And he presented his business plan here and his product. And Mark Cuban then on the spot invested $400,000 into his business, and now it's really up and running. So that's an example. So any MBA student, undergrad, or RBS alumni, you just send me your business plan. You'll see in September, I'll start sending out notices, and you just send me your business plan. So this is a good way to get into the entrepreneurial spirit. Any questions on that, just before I jump into another course?
Yeah, I have a quick question, if I can just jump in.
Yeah.
So for alumni, how many years after graduation can you participate in this business plan?
Yeah, you know what? We usually say about we say about 5 to 10 years. So there's a wide range, you know, not really beyond that, but if you're in that area, that would qualify.
Thank you.
So send me your business plans. I have money to give away. So send them in. I want to give you some money. It's very, very interesting, though. The competition itself is very interesting. Okay, so I want to tell you about a couple of courses that I'm involved in. You as MBA students may very well be taking this. It's called Integrated Business Applications. It's more known as team consulting, but you can look for that as you're taking your courses here. So it's experiential learning. It's learning by working directly with clients. So I take the MBA students, put them into teams of 5, and the students then go ahead and work with a client for a whole semester to capitalize on an opportunity, solve a problem. You know, it's good for the clients because they get a really different viewpoint from, you know, being so close to it every day, because our students have a lot of different ideas, a lot of different backgrounds. And for the students, it's good. It's a real world, real life problem. You know, you don't have a textbook, you just dive right in to solve the problem. So students, you know, usually really do like this course very, very much. And the whole idea is, how can we increase the competitive advantage of the client? So, you know, you learn a lot of things at business school. Here's your chance to do them all. Just a couple of examples that we're working with this semester. Goldman Sachs in sustainability, they asked us to create a Goldman Sachs ESG index, so that they can provide a rating on the funds that they put out into the world. How good are they on ESG? And, you know, a lot of people are interested in that. We're working with Johnson & Johnson on a sustainability project. How can they become a better leader in sustainable products and practices? BlackRock, you know, they want to make, they're very good at BlackRock at attracting older baby boomers, perhaps, but not very good at attracting millennials and Gen Z into BlackRock. So how do they do that, and perhaps do it through ESG? And just one more example, Prudential came to us and said they're really good at selling life insurance in the US, but not outside the US, especially in developing countries. How can they do that? So just good, you know, strategic thinking, problem solving. So those are the types of projects you would work on in this course. Just a few more here. A couple of things from clients. One that they said about the course. Hemisphere was launching a B12 vitamin, and what they said is we would have been unsuccessful with our own efforts. They were trying to launch a B12 vitamin with like TV advertising, very expensive, and we helped them with social media in this particular case. Suitable You, a company, said, we plan on using the funding ideas. We made a pitch deck and a financial model for them. Advanced Media Health said, you know, the work products from our RBS students is what I experienced and received from paid consultants over the years, exceeded my expectations. So it's good that we can really help clients. Again, real world type thing. Just a minute on the course itself. You know, first couple of weeks, we define the engagement, you know, what exactly is what we're going to be working on. We have a letter of engagement with the client. Then we dive into research, secondary research on the internet, primary research by talking to people in the field. And then we make our recommendations to the client. And I'll just show a couple more slides and stop for a minute. So so this is currently how it works. A business need comes in. We in Rutgers have all kinds of expertise with our students and our faculty in finance and accounting and marketing, and then we come out with a solution. So just wanted to stop there for a minute. Just any particular question perhaps on this course? Okay, so I hope you can join in this course. You can talk to your fellow students. They really enjoy this course very much, as I do as well, because every semester there's new clients and new things to figure out. One last thing I'm going to show here, and Gary alluded to that before. So what I said is this: we've done this at Rutgers for 30 years. But what if we just explode it out? What could it be? And so what's going to be available soon is the Rbs Experiential Learning Hub. So it's what I talked about in the middle, problems that Rbs students can solve. But the thought is, what if we involve the rest of the university? What if we have students on the team from School of Pharmacy, from Brownstone School of Public Policy, Mason Gross, Engineering, etc.? What if they're on the team? So one example that J&J has posed to us is they believe that medicine prescriptions we're not going to get in our car and drive to CVS anymore in 5 years. The prescriptions are going to come to us, whether it's by drones or it's by Amazon.com or CVS.com. So J&J wants us to dive in and say, so what's coming? How is that going to happen? What should J&J be preparing for? What should they be doing? And so just as an example, beside RBS students, we're going to have Rutgers School of Pharmacy students. They know pharmacy, right? To be on the team, and perhaps Brownstone School of Public Policy. What's the public policy we're going to see over the next few years to give better recommendations, to J&J than we could do? So that's something you can just, look for as well. So, it's the end of my presentation there. Again, if there's a question, I'd like to field it now. And I do see a hand up. So,
yeah, another quick question. What are some of the typical ways that on board? Is it through your network? Do students?
So the question is, how do you onboard to the class?
Oh, so how do these clients come on board?
Oh, the clients,
for
okay.
that? Yeah. So Johnson & Johnson.
Yeah.
You said one approach. Potential.
Okay, so there's two ways. Companies do come to Rutgers looking to get a RBS consulting team because it's helpful to them, and they usually are repeat customers. They come back a number of times, and there's also my personal network, and so between that's how I get all my clients in. If anyone out there is an alum or knows of someone that would like to get a team, I've got teams all year round. I'd love to talk to them. So you can, again, here's my email. You can just give me an email and we can do that. I'd be happy to do that. I see Jose has a question.
Yes. Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you, Professor, for basically disclosing what the course is about. I actually have a question about the competition. Let's say that a student comes and gives you a business plan about a certain topic. Could you maybe elaborate a bit about how is the confidentiality of that information handled? Like, for example, there are a bunch of ideas in that business plan. At the end, who do those ideas belong to? I mean,
okay. Yeah. So as far as this team that we're just talking about here, we sign an NDA with the client at the beginning of the semester. And because of that, all the information is kept between the team, myself and the client through the NDA. What we come up with is property of the client. So they have the rights to it after the semester is over. We have had a couple of cases where the clients have asked the students to stay on and work with them because they really valued the recommendation and the student thinking, but it is the property of the company that initiates the opportunity. Right.
Thank you. But the case when the student is participating in the competition for the
Okay.
for the 50,000. Are the ideas of the students, do they go and become
Okay,
IP of the university?
Yeah.
Or
Okay, I understand. So for the business plan competition, whatever ideas that you bring forward are 100% yours. Not owned by anyone else. If you win the competition, you do get the funding with no strings attached. And we just keep it to ourselves. A couple of judges have been judging this for about 25 years. They fund this. They've funded about $1 million over the last 20 years. So it's just me and a couple of the judges that have been doing this. Completely though, it's your property and your ideas.
okay, do they sign an NDA also, or?
Yes.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Okay. And again, on that competition in September, you'll see notices, emails, posters, social media come out, and all you have to do is send me your business plan. But we can get to that in September.
Thank you.
So okay, that's
All right. Are there any other questions?
I have one more question actually about the competition.
Okay.
Go ahead.
So for the competition, are there, after the person wins the $50,000, the team does, is there any advising that goes on after from you or the panel that judged?
So right now what we do is, if you make it into the competition, we have alum that help advise your business plan to make it better. Then you go ahead and present. We do offer after the competition, if you'd like to get continued mentoring from a couple of our alumni that work on this, we can arrange that as well.
Okay, thank you.
So it's a little bit more than just a competition. We do want to help actual businesses to get up and grow. For example, the Pliables, about 6 or 7 or 8 years ago, I forget now, they won the competition because they were just starting up. They needed $20,000 to build their kitchen and start. They won the competition. We gave them some business help from alumni, and they started up, and Pliables became, Pliable. So there was a case where, RBS really could add some value, to a small company. Okay, if there's nothing else, I can hand it back to.
No, I have one more question actually. Sorry to interrupt.
Okay.
Yeah. So while Salome was making, or while you were answering her question, I have another question, which is related to the course. Of course, for entrepreneurs, is one of the challenges is to get funding. Could you maybe go into a bit of details about if your course covers that aspect, and maybe a highlight experience of how a startup could basically get funds besides basically the participating, let's say, judges at student competition, but.
So I think there may be resources at Rutgers, maybe Mukesh Patel or Gary Minkoff may help. What we do though, in this particular competition, we do have a couple of angel investor groups that we can introduce our winners to if they're looking for funding. So it's a, kind of a loose connection, but we do make that introduction. But otherwise, I do think there's opportunities at RBS beyond the particular competition or class that you can look into.
Oh, okay. Maybe from past experience, could you mention about somebody having very background noise?
Yeah.
Maria, I think it's your. Okay, thank you. Maybe from past experience, maybe you could tell about an example, the amount of the magnitude of the funds that have been procured for a startup within this concept, just as an example.
Yeah, so I'd have to I have to look beyond the 50,000 that we give here. I'd have to look it up. You know what? I'd invite you, Jose. You seem to be interested in this. You see my email address there. Because we have a big program here today. If you could maybe just send me an email,
Okay.
Maybe we can talk. I can probably better answer your questions that way.
All right. No, sounds good. Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
I also feel like Mukesh's portion and possibly Gary's as well will help answer some more of your questions. So
All right,
without further
Sorry.
ado,
Yeah.
I'd like to introduce Mukesh Patel. He's also our faculty advisor for CEO Forum, and he has a lot of experience in entrepreneurship and helping start up a different entrepreneurship endeavors here at Rutgers Business School. So I will hand it over to Mukesh now.
All right, thank you, Maria. Hello, everyone. I don't have any slides for you at this moment, but I do have a deck that's been designed, and I will share the link with Maria to share with everyone on this call subsequent to the call. So feel free to leverage that in any way you'd like. Briefly, I co-teach a MBA course. It's an MBA course, but it's open to MBAs and executive MBAs at Rutgers Business School called Opportunity Identification. I co-teach that with Professor Jeffrey Robinson, who could not join us today, since he was just recently promoted to Executive Vice President and Provost or Assistant Chancellor at Rutgers Newark. But that course is about how do you identify a great idea for a business, and how do you assess it, and how do you validate it in the marketplace? So stakeholder validation, customer discovery, writing a business plan around it, and then being able to raise capital based on the idea. Not necessarily having to build the company first and then seek capital, but how do you raise money on an idea? And so it could be angel investments or venture capital investment or corporate VC money, possibly family office or private equity. And that's one course. And then the second program, for which I'm the director and co-faculty with the School of Engineering, is called CTEC. Stands for Collaborative for Technology, Entrepreneurship, and Commercialization. It's a 2-course series. You can take either course, CTEC 1 or CTEC 2, in either order. And essentially, CTEC 1 is how do you go from an idea to a business model? And CTEC 2 is how do you go from a business model to commercialization, to an actual profitable company. And so in that course series, half the students come from the Rutgers Business School, masters, PhDs, MBAs in business, and the other half come from all the STEM schools. So we have physicians from the Rutgers Medical School, we have PharmDs, pharmacists from Rutgers Pharmacy School, we have engineers, all types of disciplines, and computer scientists in the course. And then we form interdisciplinary teams, and we work with the Rutgers Tech Transfer Office, where they give us some of their patent portfolios for our projects. We also work with the US Navy and several universities internationally as well. And so we collect these patent technology portfolios, and the student teams bid on which technology idea they would like to work on for the project. And essentially we end up developing the investor pitch deck and the business plan, the commercialization plan, to launch a startup around that technology. And at the end of the course, the technologist can decide if they're interested in that. We help facilitate a conversation to actually help launch a business. And the students, upon graduation, can join the company, most likely in a executive role or a C-suite role, which is fantastic. And at a minimum, they can learn how to invest in startups through the program. They can learn how to serve on advisory boards of high growth entrepreneurial companies. And so there's a lot of benefit, even if you're going into corporate, how to be an entrepreneur, leveraging all that information and knowledge and become an innovator within. So that's called CTEC. I'll send links to all of these courses and programs. I also help co-found the entrepreneurship law clinic at Rutgers Law School, both in Newark and Camden campuses, where we provide free legal services to New Jersey-based startups and small businesses. So basically entrepreneurs, if you qualify, it's a case-by-case assessment, but essentially you can qualify if you have not raised a lot of money, or you don't have significant revenues, and then you get free legal services. So that's another collaboration that we work on, and started a new program at Rutgers Business School called Road to Silicon Valley program, which is to connect Rutgers students, undergrad and grad students, with not just Silicon Valley in California, in the Bay Area, but like innovation hubs throughout the country. So it's from Silicon Valley to Silicon Alley, Silicon Beach, Silicon Mountains, all these amazing places where lots of venture funded companies are growing. And so basically plug into the ecosystem there. That's called the Road to Silicon Valley program. The CEO Forum was kind of a spin-off idea that came from that to connect all these opportunities to grad students. And then through CUDE, the Center for Urban Entrepreneurship and Economic Development, I helped develop and I run an accelerator program. It's an annual cohort. We accept about 10 to 15 startups founded by either Black, Latinx, or women co-founders. So helping underrepresented minorities in startups and small businesses, help them raise capital and grow and scale. Our cohorts over the last 5 years have raised, I want to say, somewhere between $5 to $10 million collectively, and very successful. We also have a couple of teams that have gotten into some of the top accelerators in the country, including Y Combinator or Techstars in New York. And lastly, we give away grants at the end of every cohort, $20,000 to $30,000. This is non-dilutive funding, no equity, no dilution. It's basically a gift that we give to help launch these businesses into the marketplace. And they don't have to pay that money back. They can leverage that to raise additional capital. And so it's a great collaborative partnership there. We have a lot of corporate partners there as well. And I help Rutgers students in the master's program build advisory boards, structure their companies properly, legally, so that they can raise capital if they're interested in venture capital or angel investment, or raising money from family offices, or even applying for grants. And then competitions. We love competitions, and Doug Brownstone talked about the Rutgers Business Plan competition. I help Rutgers students get into other national and global competitions, such as TIE, the Hult Prize, and our students have won over $1 million in prize monies in competing. And we have beat every Ivy League school in these competitions and global institutions. So that's been a lot of fun. We've competed against MIT, Harvard, Stanford, and a number of great academic institutions, and including Princeton and others. And so we'll continue to grow that program. And the last course, which is an undergrad course, but we're expanding it to now other levels, is the Innovation Lab, where students actually build a startup from scratch in one semester and raise money and get out there and build and commercialize. So happy to answer any questions, but I will send a bunch of links to Maria after the call.
And I would love to jump in. Thank you, Professor Patel, for all of that, and add some comments about my personal experience with the law clinic. So I did engage with them, I want to say it was probably a year or two ago, and they were just incredibly helpful. I was working on starting up a company, and even though I took the course on business law through the MBA program already, there are nuances with just getting a business up and running, incorporated, and all that paperwork. And it was a very smooth process. They led me through how I should have it formed. And, you know, the common question, should I have it incorporated in Delaware? Because a lot of people tend to do that. But
or LLC versus a C corporation and all these things and tax structures and nuances. Well, that's good to hear. Thank you for sharing that, Ryan. Appreciate it.
yeah,
And Ryan has been part of our CTech program as well. That course is, and so has Elvira. So if you have questions about any of those courses, feel free to reach out and connect to them. We've worked pretty closely with both of their teams. It's designed, that course or course series is designed more like an accelerator not like a traditional course. So it's not a textbook learning course. It's really, we bring in guest speakers, founders of companies that have scaled to 500 million or a couple of million, and how they did it from scratch. We listen to podcasts, we work in teams and collaborate, and it's not like a traditional experience. So we're trying to create new entrepreneurial resources at the university, and it's working. I don't know if you saw the ratings recently, but the Rutgers MBA program for entrepreneurship was ranked very highly nationally and globally. And we can circulate the link to that rating as well. It was a Poets and Quants rating.
Yes, and CTech 1 and CTech 2, those were fabulous courses. They were unlike any of the other courses I had taken through the MBA program. And the connections that came from that as well were incredibly valuable. I mean, you work with real investors, real entrepreneurs that give feedback on your project plan and provide guidance on how do you tackle different challenges, how do you pivot, which is possibly the most important skill in starting a company. And there is nothing like having to do it over and over again. And I can see why now serial entrepreneurs have to do it more than once to figure it out. And the course is just wonderful for getting your feet wet and understanding the concepts behind that.
And students also learn from their fellow classmates and peers as well.
I second to that. The amount of resources this course has is just amazing. Speaker series, guest speakers, lectures, and the network of the mentors. It was incredible.
Thank you. Any questions? Otherwise, I will yield the rest of the time back. Okay, well, thank you very much. Looking forward to seeing you guys. Oh, sorry.
We do have a question from Salam.
Thank you, Professor, for walking us through that. Quick question, not to put you too much on the spot, but I know some business schools like CBS and HBS do this. For your courses, any chance that alumni in the future can audit some of these courses and take advantage of these great classes?
Yes, we have done that. We've allowed alumni to come back and participate as if they were enrolled in the course at that moment as well. So we're all about collaborative entrepreneurship. And so if there's anyone interested, we say, bring it, come, show up, and let's do business.
Great. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. And at the end of this program, we will share the links that Mukesh has for us, as well as emails for all three professors that are presenting today, so you can have more questions as they come up. Thank you so much, Mukesh. And I will now hand it over to Gary Minkoff, who's also entrepreneurship professor here at RBS. Tell us more about what you teach and your experience, Gary. Thank you for joining us.
First of all, thank you very much for having me. Forgive me. I've been in the UAE and in Israel for the last 2.5 weeks, and I am just fresh off the plane. So, Mukesh, I have tidings for you too when we catch up. I will tell you before I even get into my teaching, which has primarily been at the undergrad level, but I've done my share of things with grad students, etc. One thing I will tell you is that the Rutgers brand absolutely projects globally. I could not have received a warmer welcome every place that I went throughout the United Arab Emirates and Israel. And that covers a lot of cities, that covers major corporations, that covers startups, that covers some significantly globally ranked universities and college programs. And I will tell you that they weren't just interested in our undergrads as a source of talent. On multiple occasions, the MBA program came up, and there was an interest in potentially creating collaborations with our MBA students from here to there, whether it's as a talent source, a source of ideas, a source of project development, etc. So I can't promise that those things will materialize. They're going to have to be gestated, and we're going to have to work on them. But I'm going to work with my treasured colleagues, Doug and Mukesh and others, to try to make those things reality. So whatever the opportunities are today, I think we can project those to even more significant opportunities in the future. So, where to start? So first of all, Doug and Mukesh have really put the pressure on me here. You know, I mean, you guys really have made this a challenge, but maybe first I'll just tell you a little bit more about me and my entrepreneurial chops. And then I'll get a little bit more into my teaching because, you know, as Ryan said for my bio, I believe that my entrepreneurial background radically informs my teaching. I mean, there's an expression I picked up where I got my MBA at Babson. And they used to use the term pracademic or practitioner academic. And the belief is that because the folks that you're hearing from today on the faculty have a strong presence in active entrepreneurship, that is, we're all actively engaged in the entrepreneurial community as practitioners. And I think that helps us bring a lot more to the table without diminishing our colleagues that are doing research. But if we think of entrepreneurship as a practice, I think that there's a lot that we can and clearly are offering in that sense. And so I've run a couple of nonprofits in sustainability early in my, one in sustainability, one in media advocacy and training earlier in my career. I spent about a dozen years in financial services, first in the investment bank training program at Citi, in corporate finance, municipal finance. I developed one of the first online trading systems way back in the day. Did some institutional as well as individual money management at a number of companies simply because that was around the time the stock market collapsed back in the late 80s. And so there was just a lot of churn. While I never changed desks in New Brunswick, I worked for some companies like Shearson Lehman American Express, Smith Barney, which ultimately was bought out by Citi, but by then I had moved on to Bank of America Merrill Lynch. I started a consulting company about 25 years ago. At the time, AOL and Time Warner were the biggest media companies in the world. I worked on that merger many, many years ago, did a lot of work for Time Warner, Time Life, et cetera, in the media space, Coldwell Banker, Long and Foster, what's now part of Long and Foster Mortgage, Stop and Shop, ShopRite, Honeywell, the New Jersey Clean Energy Council have all been clients of mine, to name a few. There are probably some others that I'm overlooking, as well as Bloomberg and the Economic Development Authority in Newark are also companies that come to mind that I've done consulting for as well. Those latter through my work here as a faculty member at Rutgers. At the undergrad level, I've been absolutely blessed, not just to work with Mukesh in a number of different ways, but probably have had the privilege of either recreating or enhancing radically 7 or 8 or 9 different entrepreneurship courses. So everything from intro to entrepreneurship, where we brought in lean startup methodology and students work in teams of their own choosing to identify a problem of their own choosing and create a venture of their own choosing under our guidance and mentorship, informed by guest lectures and alums to help guide them or provide feedback. At the end of the semester, they actually do a pitch of their idea. And in some cases have been approached by some of these alums as potential angel investors. Managing growing ventures. One of the things that I do is I chair the Small Business Development Center Advisory Board here at Rutgers. We have several thousand, quote, small business clients, but you should be aware that when we talk about a small business, according to the SBA definition, that can be a manufacturing company with as many as 1,000 employees. So, you know, you might think that that's a company with 5, 10, 15 employees, you know, in an office tucked away somewhere in an industrial park. The biggest client that we've worked with there is a $500 million subsidiary of a publicly traded company called Robertet, where we actually worked with them at the undergrad level and their CEO and executive team to define a new palette, if you will, of fragrances for millennials. Worked with companies to create e-commerce platforms, an affiliate of ServiceNow, a number of affiliates of SAP and their value-added resellers, Salesforce.com. So in managing growing ventures, we talk about just that, growing in, you know, what it takes to grow, scale a venture and mitigate the risks associated with that scaling along the way. Marketing for entrepreneurs and small business, kind of marketing from a traditional standpoint, but pumped through the entrepreneurial lens. What do you do when you're resource constrained? Never have enough time or information in order to be able to see this idea to fruition, and yet you still have to see that idea to fruition. We have, Mukesh mentioned an accelerator before, so the entrepreneurship practicum at the undergrad level, which I've taught, also works as an accelerator type of program. And, you know, we've had students from there that have actually raised hundreds of thousands of dollars. In one case, Ron Shields, my solace, was able to take some of what he learned in that course and use that to leverage a relationship in order to get into the Antler Accelerator, which gave him a couple of $100,000 in funding. I'm on the advisory board of a company which is part of Techstars now. And Mukesh and I share, you know, Akash Randhawa, who has a very interesting quantifiable way of dealing with physical therapy treatment. He's now a Techstars alum. And the company that I mentor was asked, because of our Rutgers connection, what do we know of Akash? And they were basically told to Techstars, if they're Rutgers, they're okay, let them in. So, you know, we've been able to further populate that and anticipate many more successes with Techstars, which, you know, is right up there with Y Combinator as a top accelerator. So I'll get to the grad work in just a second. I just also wanted to mention that, you know, we're blessed to have an ecosystem, and because we all communicate and collaborate, you know, the ecosystem isn't just what we have here at Rutgers, but you know, there are firms in the area which are very, very highly ranked for their connections to, Mukesh mentioned, family office practices. You know, there's a law firm that I know, you know, the partner is one of the mentors that works with Mukesh and CTech, David Weiser. His firm, Day Pitney, is not ashamed to say they probably have one of the best family office practices around. And David himself, who's a good friend of mine and a neighbor of mine here in Highland Park, has been the chief commercial officer of a venture-backed company that grew to well over 100 million in sales before they decided that they wanted to pivot and go do other things as individuals as well as a company. So anyway, similarly with accounting firms, with investment firms, with firms that are very creative in the way they go about providing all sorts of capital, not just startup capital, but working capital as well. We've really got, you know, and another connection that I didn't hear mentioned, not as a criticism, but which is very interested in Rutgers student ventures, is the New Jersey Venture Foundation. Our friend Mike Wiley, who is always looking for ideas from Rutgers students, grad and undergrad, originally focused on tech and healthcare, but not exclusively that. So we have a number of different ways that, you know, we can help bring various types of investors and forms of investment to the table. And the Venture Foundation, if you're willing to throw in with any IP that is developed here at Rutgers, which I know is sort of not what students prefer, but, you know, there's an old expression that, you know, 100% of nothing is still nothing. You know, even if you give up 5% or 10% of a company or 15%, and it gives you the pathway to take a significant commercial opportunity to very high levels, that may be something worth considering. Basically, the way the Venture Foundation model works is they'll provide up to $50,000. They'll call it seed capital. You could think of it almost as play money. It's sort of money that's really there to help you explore and further develop that idea, and then see if you can't turn that into something which comes at the next level. With additional milestones and funding also comes a very sophisticated back office infrastructure that the Venture Foundation provides. So, so that's just one of many ways that Rutgers is connected to funding, even without necessarily having an in-house quote unquote fund, which we're also actively working on very assiduously too. So I just wanted to mention those things. Now, as far as the course that I have taught and I'm slated to teach, without confusing what you just heard about the EMBA version of opportunity identification, is that I expect to be teaching in the fall again, opportunity identification and evaluation. And so that's sort of an amalgam of a few different things. And I'm just going to borrow from something that's in the syllabus, which I have not committed to memory, but just thought I would point out. And I could actually share this in theory, but really, we talk about vision, opportunities, innovations, capital, and entrepreneurial networks, right? And how do we explore that in different ways? And so the idea there is really, you know, what's your entrepreneurial vision? Where does innovation come from, right? How do you go about developing that idea? How do you leverage a network in order to make that happen? And we explore that in a number of different ways. There's a series of individual as well as group cases that students are asked to work on, everything from understanding the founding of Barbie, and the role that she played in culture and society, what that meant for women's entrepreneurship in society, to things like open innovation around NL, major utility and infrastructure company based in Europe that reaches into Asia, reaches into South America, reaches all over Europe, even into North America in some spots, BMW Startup Garage, very interesting healthcare consortium, Ariadna Labs in Boston, to Garpar Cosmetics and Beauty Company with expansion opportunities throughout India and beyond. Just as sample cases that we've worked with in the past. Since Shark Tank came up, I would mention that a good friend of mine, Nikki Radzely, is guest lectured in that graduate class. Nikki actually faced down all the sharks in Shark Tank, and while she was offered investment money from each shark, has actually unpacked for my class why it is that she ultimately decided not to take the money. Tremendous role model, recently exited from the business that she started called Doddle & Co. And so students kind of have had a chance to see that firsthand. Robert Heiblum, unfortunately, passed away a couple of months ago, but Robert guest lectured the last time we did that class, leader of the Consumer Electronics Association, consultant to Google, Apple, executive for many years in the consumer electronics industry here, and a former Babson classmate, Doug McElhenney, who was a partner at McKinsey, also guest lectured on his insurance practice that he oversees for McKinsey, as well as the emergence of InsurTech as an opportunity in finance and in entrepreneurship. So that's just a quick flavor for some of the things I've been involved with. I forgot to mention, but I should. You know, since we mentioned the public sector, I spent 12 years or more as an elected official here in New Jersey, several as mayor of my town. Which gave me oversight of a staff of about 100, but budgetary responsibility for, you know, if you include the school system, around $40 or $50 million. So in addition to the startups, and by the way, this nutraceutical startup, Pre-D Partners, recently got its first patent for methods and treatment of composition methods and treatment of prediabetes, diabetes, and metabolic syndrome. And we've been approached by a couple of different commercialization partners that actually want to take this now and get it out into the marketplace in a big way, both domestically and abroad. So we're kind of, you know, we talk about what it means to be an entrepreneur and why, and what it takes to get this stuff done. Everything that I ask my students to do, I either have gone through many times, as has Mukesh and Doug, or am currently going through with multiple businesses right now. So the last thing I just want to mention, which I think is important, is in addition to all the connections that we have in these various places, the New Jersey Economic Development Authority has become increasingly interested in this partnership that we forged with Tel Aviv University that may yet create additional opportunities for funding of ventures from graduates through a hackathon that will probably run again next spring. We ran it this past spring, and we're encouraged to apply again for grant funding from the EDA. But I would also mention, for any of you that have an interest, for my undergrad classes, my Intro to Entrepreneurship class, typically I employ at least one, if not two, MBA teaching assistants in that course. So if you want to learn a little, or earn a little extra money over the course of a semester, if that's something you want to add to your resume, that can be very helpful. But the other thing that I would say is that, and I think this is true of all of our entrepreneurship faculty, we don't just try to be generous with our time in terms of the advice that we provide, the mentoring we provide to help get you and keep you on the right track. But also every TA that's ever worked for me, with only one exception, who was a washout, who shall remain nameless, you know, we're very big on recommendations and connections as well. I think we've got some pretty solid networks. And so if those create pathways for you, whether it's to a startup, whether it's to a startup ecosystem, whether it's to a corporation, if there are any ways that we can be helpful, and certainly I've said this many times where I'm concerned, then obviously whether or not you work for me, if I get to know you, then I'm certainly happy to help you in any way I can. So let me be quiet now, both for the sake of my voice and in case anybody has any questions. I hope that's been a helpful introduction to what I teach, what I do, and where I come from.
Thanks so much, Gary. Yeah, that was wonderful, and thank you for being first-time panelists on our series. It's great to have you and learn more about your background and the ways that you can help the students that are attending today and just the Rutgers ecosystem. I think it's really great to have a variety of professors, and I hope you join us again next time we do this. As far as questions go, do we have any more questions for Gary or any of the other professors?
Well, first of all, thank you, Maria. You know, I would just say that Mukesh, I guess, had told Ryan that I should be on the panel. So hopefully I did not embarrass him in so doing.
No, we love our partners in the
You did okay.
entrepreneurial community.
Yeah, appreciate it. Absolutely. Okay. Well, it doesn't seem like anybody else has any questions, but like I said, I really appreciate having all three of you on today. While I would have loved to have Jeffrey Robinson as well, we're very excited for him and his new opportunity and his promotion at Rutgers. So hopefully we'll hear from him again soon. I know he does a lot to develop the businesses in the Newark area and urban entrepreneurship. But please check out his courses as well.
I'm sorry, there's one thing I just wanted to add. I apologize. Sure. I don't mean to dominate the conversation. In a prior semester, somebody had given me a piece of information which wasn't accurate, which I just want to correct for the MBAs. So if you bear with me for 1 second, there was some information, and maybe it's since been corrected, that previously, if one took opportunity identification and evaluation, that was not required for either of the 2 tracks of entrepreneurship in order to get the concentration. But for the innovation and entrepreneurship track, definitely managing growing ventures, opportunity identification and evaluation, and business models to launch are those 3, key upfront courses that need to be taken. So, just in, I'm not here to provide advice, but just, in terms of making sure that there's accurate information out there, previously students had mentioned, well, that course isn't on the radar because it's not needed for anything in the program. I'm not saying this out of ego. I'd love to see as many students as want to take it. I'm just saying from a practical standpoint, if you miss that course and innovation and entrepreneurship is the track you want to follow, you're going to have an issue later on. So sorry to interrupt. I just wanted to, for some who may or may not have been aware, I just wanted to offer that clarity.
And I'll offer some additional comments because I've taken all those classes. Even if you don't want the concentration, I recommend taking those classes.
Ryan, we're going to have to put you onto our faculty, sir.
Yeah.
Either that or pay the
thanks,
commission.
Ryan. Yeah, any students, you can maybe private message Ryan directly about his student experience with these professors and others in the program. And I know Elvira also and Adriana have taken CTEC as well. I unfortunately had not. By the time I knew of these offerings, I was already on my last semester of my senior year, but that was part of the reason of me forming this organization, because I wanted to inform other students about these great opportunities at Rutgers as someone who has been self-employed and also interested in entrepreneurship. I wanted these resources to be better known among MBA students, and I know that a lot of these professors also teach on the other undergraduate level, and we've been able to participate in multiple ways. So thank you everyone for joining us today. Again,
Maria,
thank you to our
can I
professors.
also congratulate Elvira, who was not a student not long ago, but we recommended her and encouraged her to join Rutgers, and she's now the assistant dean of the MBA program. So,
Yes,
Dean
absolutely. Congratulations,
Thank you so much.
Assistant Dean Elvira. Yes, I wasn't sure if she wanted me to mention that or not. Thank you, Elvira.
Thank you so much.
Yeah,
And
so she
feel
will
free to
also keep
connect.
the,
Feel free to connect on LinkedIn as well. We're all
Right.
pretty
Yeah,
accessible.
and I posted my email in chat in case anybody needs it. For sure, as Mukesh said, feel free to connect on LinkedIn, and I'm sure that, my colleagues, but since you don't know me, any way I can be helpful or a resource to any of you, I'm more than happy to be.
yes. And I will also post CO forum links in the chat. You can join us on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube. We will have this recording available later on YouTube if you want to share it with friends that are interested in entrepreneurship at Rutgers. And professors, you're also welcome to share this as a talk highlighting what you do. So thank you again. I hope everyone has a wonderful day, and we'll talk to you again soon.
Thank you so much, everybody.
Thank you.